Hi people, today we'll be discussing exception handling in Python. Now, what do you mean by an exception? An exception is like interrupt on the regular flow of the program, right? Now, it's like an error, but what is the difference between error and an exception? Now, errors cannot be handled, but exceptions can be handled. So today in this video, we'll learn how to handle an exception. Okay, so let me take a variable like equal to 0 and b equal to 5. Now I want to divide b by a. So let us store it in another variable b by a. So what is happening here? If I execute this, I'll get 0 division error. Now what is this? As you all know that we cannot divide a number by 0, right? It will give us infinity and we don't have that. It's not possible to store in a variable. So now what we need to do? We need to handle the exception. So what I'll do is I'll put this inside a try. So what will happen? It'll just check whether some exception is occurring or not. Now if it is occurring, then what? It will go in except. Now if you have studied Java, then you know that with try we have catch, but here in Python we use the term except. The job is the same. It just handles exceptions, right? Now if I want to print something in the except, then I can directly write it. Okay, so every time I'm getting an exception, it will happen. Now if I change the number from 0 to 1, so now there is no exception, right? So it is not entering the except. So if I want to display something other than except, then I'll write it inside else. So here I'm writing no exception. Okay, so whenever there is an exception occurring in try, it will go in except and print whatever is there. When no exception is happening in try, then it will directly go in else. Okay, so now let's see some different type of exceptions like I have here. Let me just try to open a file which does not exist. Okay, so how do you open a file? F is the file pointer is equal to open, then I'll write file 1.txt. Now there is no such file in my folders. So now if I open it in write mode, then what will happen? If the file doesn't exist, then it will automatically create the file, right? And if it exists, then it will delete the old contents of the file and we'll start writing from the beginning. Now if I open it in append mode, then what will happen? If the file does not exist, it will create a new file. But if it does exist, then the older contents will not be deleted and it will be appended after the older content, right? So instead of that, what I'll do, I'll open it in read mode. Now R is for read and T is for text. So now if I'm opening it in read mode and this file doesn't exist, then I should get an error, right? So let us see what error I'm getting. So instead of putting it in try, let me just see what kind of error we'll get. So the error is file not found error. Okay, so if I now if I execute this, see I'm getting an exception. Okay, now let us try another error, which will be module not found. Now if I'm trying to import a module like module Z, now I don't have any module named module Z in my system. So if I'm doing this, see I'm getting an exception. Now what is the exception? Let's just see that here. Without any try, if we write it, then we'll get the exception, module not found error. See, okay. So now let us try a few more. Okay, let me just try to write a variable which is not declared. Okay, so here's Z. I have not assigned any value. See, you know already, then Python, we don't need to declare, we don't need to write the data type of the variables. Okay, whatever you equate it with, it will automatically take the right hand side's data type and give the data type of the left side variable the same. It will give the same data type, right? So here I'm not giving Z anything. Here I have declared A and B, but I have not declared Z. So let us just see what happens. See, I'm getting another exception here. So if I take this and put it here, what is the exception I'm getting? Okay, here I'm getting an indentation error. So let's just, okay, yeah, name error. This is called a name error. Means you have not declared this variable before and you are directly attempting to print it or use it in something. So that is a name error. Now let me take a user input. I'm taking a variable C, or let's just take Y. Y is equal to what? Let me take a user input. Now, we all know that by default inside Python, whenever we are attempting to take a user input, it takes input in strings. Always, it's in strings, right? But if I want to make it integer, see, even if we are inputting a number in Python, if I want to check the type, data type, then what it will give, it will always take it in string. But now if I want to make it integer, then what I'll have to do, I'll have to do typecasting, right? So let us just typecast this, and now it is asking for input. Now let me enter a character in place of a number. Now don't assume that it will take ASCII value, that's not the case. What it will do, it will give an error. Now what is this? Exception. I got an exception here. Let us just try it here and see what kind of error I'll get. So it is a value error. Okay, so as you can see, this is what I got, invalid literal for int. Okay, so this is a value error now I'm getting. Okay, so these are some of the basic types of exceptions that we are going to handle. We'll see what is happening here. So now let me just see that if I'm having like zero division error. First was a zero division error. Now I have kept it here, zero division error, as E. Now what this will do, if you want to know, find out about, if you want to display the name of the error, then you can just directly display E. So here, let me just see here, let me take 5. So, okay, so now I'm getting the name error. See, what is the issue here is that try will immediately, whenever it encounters an error, it will directly jump to accept. Now here we don't have any exception for name error, right? We are only handling zero division here error here. So if I want for name error also, then I'll have to write a comma and name error. So now it will give an exception. If I am, let me insert here, now name Z is not defined. Okay, so now I'm handling the name error also. Let me handle here value error. Then comes, what is there? File not found error. Then module not found. Now whatever exception I'll be getting, let me take, okay, name Z is not defined. If I take the first one, then invalid literal. Okay, fine. So what is happening here is, even though I have 5 exceptions occurring here, as soon as I'm getting an exception here, it will skip all these parts and directly jump to this part, right? So the problem with this is that every time I'm getting one exception, it is handling only the first one. The rest are getting ignored. So what if I want to display all the exceptions together? At that time, what I'll do, let me just execute a for loop for that. For x in range 5. Let me take it from 0 to 4. Okay, the 5 is excluded. The last one is always excluded. So now in this, what I'll do, I can take a like if else statement. So for each condition, I'll check each error. If x is equal to 0, then what you do, you perform a value error. Okay, now for else, elif, here we have elif, not else if x is equal to 1, at that time what I'll do, let's just go for, this is what, this is the name error, right? Then for x is equal to 2, we'll do module not found error. Then after that, we have here file not found error. And then at last, let us just see zero division error. Okay, here there's some indentation problem. Okay, fine. Now this is for x is equal to 4. Okay, so for every error, we have an exception here. It is also inside the for loop, because every time the loop will execute, after every iteration, it will check the value of x, right? And depending on the x, it will execute each and every, and then we will have to display will display all these things. Okay, let's see how it works. For 0, it is asking for an input. So let me input a character instead of a integer value. And what I'm getting? Invalid literal. Now name z is not defined. Why? Because when x is equal to 1, at that time z is not defined, right? We haven't defined z yet. Then modules, this name is not there. Then file1.txt is not there. Then zero division error is also happening. Okay, for this is no exception because here I have kept the value of a as 1. So let me just make it 0 and we'll execute this again. So here see, division by 0. Okay, so this is happening. Now, after all these things, it is probably just taking another condition. Let's just see 4. Let's take it till 4. No exception. Okay, see why this else is coming, because it is outside, so it is just displaying every time. Let's put it inside. Now we will not get that no exception. See, the no exception is gone now, and we are getting all the other errors here, right? So now it's fine. See, I kept it 4, so it is not taking this elif part. Let me just make it 5 because it is 0 to 4, right? So now let's see. Yeah, we are getting all the errors. Now it's perfect. Okay, so this is how you can see all the errors. There's another shortcut method for this also. Let me just remove this. Okay, so here if I put 1 second. Okay, if I take it from, okay, found it. Now if I take it from if I take this, see, in this word, this sys exec underscore info, what this shows us, this gives the name of the exception. And let's just execute this and see. For every time, here what we were doing, we were keeping the name of the exception as fixed, right? Now if we get an exception other than these, then it will not be handled. For that, I'll have to write another except and directly print something that some exception occurred or something like that. Then at that time, whatever is the exception, it will show. Means it will show us directly as an exception. We will not get the particular names because we have given the fixed names here. So if you want to fetch the names from the system, at that time you will have to use this command and the 0th argument, the command line argument. At that time, what will happen? You will get whatever the exact exception other than these. If something else is also happening, then it will take this value exactly. And these are exception. So thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed.